you know, it's going to be fought in the political arena more than the courtroom. My question to you is, what's your take on it, what's your view on it, and how do you plan on either reversing it or dealing with it properly in a manner, like they say, you know, cordially together with the community?
I think the one thing in that regard that you'd like to see is, communities weren't spoken to, they weren't discussed. There were people in communities who wanted to come up, understood the safety issue, and wanted to be able to put ideas forward that respected people's religious beliefs, but also made sure that things were safe. And the fact that they were never listened to and there was no conversation, and unfortunately, and you saw the mayor's comments, he was very proud of not listening to anybody. That's not my history. So it is something that, yes, would I like to hear from people on that? Yes, I would. Would I like to hear different options? Yes, that makes sense. So it really is, I'm not going to say let's reopen things. I am going to say I want to hear, I want to listen, I want to understand how we can create that balance between safety and people's religious beliefs. That is simple as that. This is the first time that I've been asked, and my answer continues to be the same thing. The one thing that I think it is important, number one, is that the city of New York, the government needs to respect the religious beliefs of people. That is the first thing. I think that's very important. And no, we've always had that separation. But also, and the one thing that I heard from people is that there was no conversation, there was no discussion. It was, this is the way it's going to be. And we're seeing that often. With the Mike Bloomberg, this is, you know, his way or the highway. And it can't be. We need, and I have said, I'd be absolutely willing to sit down and talk to people about what could be, about about how we can balance safety and religious practice together. That's what people have talked to me about. As well as there's been more information that's been presented, more statistical evidence that people have handed me and said, we want to sit down and have this conversation with you as the mayor of the city of New York. And I've said I would be happy to do that.
Look, again, I have devoted so much of my agenda to the needs of children and families. So I'm going to start in the obvious place, and I believe everyone in this room would say the same thing. Our first concern is always for the health of the child. Now, the way the mayor went about this, I agree, was exactly like he's gone about so many other things. Without consultation with the community, without trying to strike a balance of the different needs. So, I think there is a better way to do this. I think the idea would be to bring community leaders together to say, look, without getting into the statistics, just, we know there may be some cases where the child's health might be in danger. It may be very rare, but we care for each and every child. How do we together figure out a policy that's fair? That is something I would want to do well before taking office. With leaders, such as leaders in this room, figure out a policy that's fair, that balances the legitimate concern, that we do have to be ever mindful of where the authority of the government ends and where we have to be respectful of religious tradition. I would do it with the community. And I think there is a better balance we can strike. I don't have the perfect blueprint today. It's something I would want to do with you. But I am certain we can come to something that works for everyone, and I'd want to do that right away.
It's a religious issue that needs to be respected. For those of the Jewish faith, for which we have a large number in New York, and then are all required to have bris, 7 days? 8 days. Sorry. And I've been to them. Not comfortable for me. But nonetheless, I understand it. I think it's important again for education. The very orthodox where this issue has come up, isn't it very orthodox? It's not widespread. It's narrow.
Pretty widespread.
It is.
Yeah.
It is widespread. Look, it requires education. Originally, the mayor wanted outright ban. Now he's saying he wants you to have a piece of paper that signs that you acknowledge that you understand it. That's a reasonable approach. Banning it is not. But it's a reasonable approach to tell you what the risks are. And if you understand the risks, when you sign it that you understand the risks, then the burden's on you. It's a good thing to do. I think what government should do. Government shouldn't tell people what to do. Government should, there's this management theory that you see in business school. Does a leader, direct people or put them in the right direction? There's always the analogy difference between steering and rowing. A leader should steer people in the right direction instead of making them, instead of going through all the work. And so I've never been, as I said before, I've never been asked. So I really haven't. I follow the issue. I have an enormous amount of respect for religions, religious tradition, and culture, and all of that.
Even do a good job to get elected.
What's your position on Metzitzah B'Peh?
Oh, sorry?
What's your position on Metzitzah B'Peh?
Oh, sorry?
What's your position on the issue of Metzitzah B'Peh?
I can't hear you. I can't.
What's your position on the issue of Metzitzah B'Peh?
I think that's not an issue that I've been discussing with my team. We've been focusing on education and other issues